Let's go talk to Tom Harris from the Climate Science Coalition. Hello, Tom.
Happy Earth Day 3 days in advance.
Oh, man.
The reason I'm calling is because this year more than ever before, they've turned it into Climate Change Day. And in fact, did you know the Earth Day Network, starting yesterday, has Climate Change Education Week? They're spending a whole week trying to indoctrinate students across the world about how climate change is catastrophic, etc. So if I were in the environmental movement, then I suppose all sensible people are environmentalists. We want to protect the air and the land and the water.
Of course, yeah.
But they really have got to divorce themselves from the climate movement. Sadly, what's happening is they're going the other direction. It's becoming the Climate Change Day, not Earth Day, and I think it's a big mistake.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you because I was looking at some news stories about how, especially in the States, people are becoming more and more skeptical. They have spent untold billions of dollars in education about climate science, and this week is just an extension of that, and how it's, or climate change, I should say, not science, and how, it's terrible or it's horrible, we got to do something. But people are to the point now where they're just saying, I don't believe you.
You're right. In fact, every March, the Gallup poll people do a big poll of the environment and other issues in the United States. And right now, the environment is considered less seriously than at any year since the 1989 survey. And now, if you look a little deeper, what you find, and Gallup actually say this very clearly, they say that the environmental movement has focused on climate change and global warming over the last few years, and yet in their polls, when they ask them which of these 6 issues you consider most important, global warming and climate change rated dead last. So here you have, what a great strategy, eh? Try and sell environmentalism by focusing on the issue that the public care about the least. And that, they're saying, is in fact one of the reasons that the whole global environment movement is now starting to go down in the U.S. is because they're basically focused on the wrong issue.
Well, and you don't see any leadership from the top either. I was looking at some of the things that Obama was talking about, and he's still leading that charge down that blind alley. And it doesn't seem to matter. This is where people get frustrated, and it becomes like its own religion, where it doesn't matter the facts. Yeah. It doesn't matter, that we haven't had any warming in 19 years now, 18 years now.
Yeah.
And the poles aren't melting, and all the disasters they predicted for us are not happening, and yet they keep beating that drum. And people finally look at you and say, "You've cried wolf once too often. I don't believe you anymore."
Sadly, what's happening, and you notice in the Metroland newspapers that are across Ottawa, there was an article just this week about how a group of community associations who are environmental extremists are all pushing the city government to actually live up to their green plan and to spend a lot more money. The headline was that climate change should be the city's priority. And sadly, Jim Watson actually said, oh, yes, we'll do it, and it's going to be a priority, and oh, my goodness. And that's really sad because, look at the Ottawa River. Look at all these real issues that we have to deal with. And the mayor of the city is saying, oh, we have to focus and make it a priority on global climate change. This is happening at the municipal level. And, of course, as you said, this is all part of Agenda 21.
Yep. And the thing about that is when you look at the amount of money, as you point out, that they're spending on this, cleaning up the Ottawa River, there's dozens of real environmental issues, dealing with waste in an efficient manner so we don't need landfills anymore. All kinds of different things could be done. Even if you said, okay, enough, we've done our share, let's concentrate on the others. How much money does the social housing need in this city?
A lot of people say to me, I'm not interested in climate change. I'm interested in healthcare. I'm interested in roads. I say, well, then you'd better be interested in climate change because it's gobbling up so much of the money that could go to these real issues that you're interested in. And, a friend of mine works in water resources over in Gatineau, and he says you can see a direct correlation. As the funding for climate change goes up and up and up, the funding for things like the Ottawa River, and groundwater pollution, the river keepers for Ottawa, that organization, they should be really against the climate scare because it's gobbling up all the money that could be used to clean up the river.
Yeah, and this is everybody thinks that this pot of money is endless, right? And I used this example the other day, but I'll share it with you again. If you look at the Green Energy Act here in Ontario and the billions of dollars that has been wasted, the 417, once it leaves Ottawa, becomes the 17. And from there, all the way across the country, all the way across the province, it's pretty much a 2-lane track. And between here and Petawawa, there's 40 or 50 deaths a year on that highway. It's a slaughterhouse.
And how many deaths a year are in the nursing homes across Ontario because they're underfunded?
Issue.
My mother, she passed away about a year ago, and, we had her in 4 different nursing homes looking for ones that would actually have proper support. And I finally came to the conclusion that one of the major problems is they're not getting enough money from the provincial government.
Yeah.
We let our senior citizens, for example, in nursing homes suffer because we're trying to stop climate that might change in 50 years.
Yeah.
This is really nuts. And I think many more people who are advocates of other causes should really speak out against the climate scare because it's taking all their money.
Yep. And Tom, you've made a brilliant point. Thank you very much for your phone call.
Right. Thank you.